باد شهر بی تپش در مزار باد شهر بی تپش وای جغدی هم نمی آید به گوش دردمندان بی خروشان بی فقام.
MovieWeb.com.
Well, the story is based on your real-life experiences growing up in Iran and Austria and France. And is this movie 100% autobiographical, or is this a fictional story inspired by your ordeals growing up?
I think the second thing is better put, because, you know, it's certainly not a documentary about my life. And it's certainly a subjective point of view. And it's certainly that when you make a script, you know, the part of the storytelling, we should never forget it. So if I pretend that is 100% autobiographical, that means that the dog looks like the dog that I draw, that this thing that I said, exactly I said this thing, which is not true. Of course, is a part of storytelling. It's based on my own experiences. And then, you know, you have to make a story. I think even documentaries, they are part fictional. As soon as you make a story, you have to have some fiction. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And what's inspired you to create the Persepolis graphic novels?
Well, you know, that was really my answer to the word, because, you know, the two times that I left Iran in '84 and in '94, I heard so many crazy things about you know, Iran. You know, people, they were saying things, and I was like, this is not like this is not like that. And, you know, that is a truth, a reality that you see on the TV channel, that I don't say it doesn't exist, it does. But that is many other realities that we never see. So, you know, that was really to say, this, I will give you at least another point of view. It's a very personal one. It just engaged my own person, but this is it. And so that was the beginning, how I started it. And of course, you know, I wrote it 5 years after I left Iran the second time, because, you know, I needed to have distance with the story. I didn't have to be angry anymore. I didn't have to have any violence in me anymore. because you cannot answer to the stupidity by stupidity. You cannot answer to the violence by violence. So it's extremely important to take a step back and look at the thing. So that is what I tried to do, and that was the reason I made it in the first place.
Now, how did the graphic novels then turn into a movie?
Well, that was a mess, because I never wanted to do that, and I always thought it was a very bad idea. I still do. That it's not because you are a good cartoonist that you become a good movie maker, and that's not because something works as a comic that it will work as a movie. But knowing that was very good, because I knew the danger of the project, that you shouldn't make an adaptation. We had a transposition. We had to really make an adaptation. That means forgetting about the book, taking the material and turn it into a cinematographic language. But I made it because a friend of mine wanted to become a producer, and I was like, I want to work with my best friend Vincent, and I want the studio in Paris, and I want this, and I want that, and I want Catherine Deneuve. And he said, yeah, okay. And then I was like, shit, now I have to do it. So that is how it started.
I found this film very insightful in providing a perspective from an everyday Iranian's point of view, which is not common in film. Was that the point, to get a woman's point of view who lives in Iran?
It's not a woman or a man. The fact is that I am a woman. I mean, if I was not a woman, I would be a man. It is a very personal point of view. Since I didn't want that to become a political or historical or sociological statement, I had to write it in my name. I had to put it on my name. It happens that I'm a woman, but it's a human point of view. And really, if there is one message in this movie, is the humanistic message, is that human being anywhere is the same, and they have the right to live, because they have dreams, because they have love, because they have parents and kids, and the life of all of us worth something. And then we have to understand that the situation is not as easy as we think.
اشنا کن بی فغان و بی خروش ای
The Pahlavi dynasty was the last monarch dynasty of Iran, ruled by Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi. The Shah was backed by the United States government because of his want for modernization in Iran and the want for economical growth. Through U.S. backing, Iran experienced an economical boom among goods and an overabundance of oil, which contributed to the economy. The Shah was a modernist, and he wanted to give the rights to the people found in many modern societies. This was not like due to the powerful religious control over Iran. Ayatollah Khomeini was one of the great leaders against the secularism brought by the Shah. The Shah exiled Khomeini to Iraq. Much to his disdain, Khomeini spearfronted the effort to overthrow him and his secular movement in favor of a religious and more traditional policy, much like Iran had been following before. A prominent religious leader and Khomeini's own son were found dead, and this was thought to be the doing of the Shah and his secret police, which caused tremendous commotion throughout Iran. Khomeini used this as an opportunity to put his plan into play and called for protest against the Shah and his policies from Iran. In an effort to stop Khomeini, the Shah banished him from Iraq, and Khomeini relocated to Paris, France, which provided him even more freedom to spearhead the revolt against him. In a last resort effort to bring back power to himself, the Shah had 18 prominent members of his government arrested, but this just fueled the rage of the people, so he fled to Egypt for fear of his own safety. This is when Khomeini took power of Iran. This is relevant to Persepolis because Satrapi was growing up throughout the Iranian Revolution and was directly affected by the regime change and the following political and societal changes and expectations. She grew up with freedoms that were not common in the Middle East, and as a teen was restricted from these freedoms, which put her in a dangerous position because of her rambunctious attitude. Anush was her uncle, whom she viewed as her hero. He was exiled from Iran due to his opposition of the government established by Khomeini, and was eventually executed and buried in an unmarked grave in the prison where he was being kept. This destroyed Satrapi and caused her parents to make the decision to get her out of Iran before Anush's fate became hers. The political aspect of this book is important because it was the driving force that pushed her parents to send her away, which is the reason why this book was written.
At 7 years old, Satrapi was first affected by comic books. A Dracula comic had made her believe if she ate raw chicken, she would become Dracula, although she only ended up getting worms. The fateful comic book that captivated Satrapi was Art Spiegelman's Mouse. Before Mouse, she saw comics, as she put it, for retarded adolescents. Christopher Blaine had Satrapi enter his studio where she was surrounded by cartoonists of the new generation of France. She would often tell them stories of her life, and she said that they would tell her to write them down and illustrate them for her to show. She said mainly
نغمه نیستم که بخوانی قصه نیستم که بگویی.
Satrapi believed that the illustrations in comics always have to have movement because you have to show the movement. It is the only medium in the world in which the images are part of the narration and are not just there to illustrate the text. And understanding how to use this very international and without any borders language gives you freedom.
مرا فریاد